Alrighty, today we are talking about when I was 34 weeks pregnant. Ugh. So, all in all, I remember a lot of small things being really irritating at this point. The narcissist would breathe on me, and it was within this time frame that I got so angry at him breathing on me that I would kick him in his sleep. It was so hot. So I was getting really angry constantly all the time. um my boys are spinning in my little hammock swing. It's so cute. There was also, he would cook ramen all the time, and I know that I was viscerally angry over that because it had the worst smell to it ever. Every time I smelled it, it made me want to throw up. I had such a strong aversion to the smell, and when you're pregnant, everything smells so strong. And I couldn't shake how awful it smelled every time he was cooking it. And I'd expressed to him all the time, just wait till we're at my mom's for the weekend or something. Just wait. Don't cook it right now. And he'd cook it constantly, and he'd cook it even more the further I got along. And I don't know what that was about, but it was every time that I was further in pregnancy, he was okay, I'm gonna cook it significantly more, even though it makes her sick for the entire day, right? Which I guess whatever, that made sense to him apparently. But I think the biggest thing is, at this point, he was also if he was buying groceries, he would just buy meat, and he wouldn't buy any sides or anything like that. And he was just I just want to eat meat all the time, all day long. So he would buy the cheapest steaks that you could find, barely season them, overcook them, and that would be all that we would eat. So I was just constantly feeling extremely nauseous at this point because I was smelling that ramen all the time, and then I was eating shit that just didn't taste good, at all. And of course he was saying the whole time oh yeah, I'm still gonna join the army, I'm still gonna do all that, blah 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 blah. And so I was okay, and I was just we are so close to when I have to give birth, and I am hoping that he is just gone before then. I was basically praying. I didn't have religion at that point, but I was basically praying that he was just leaving at any day. At this point, he had already basically given up on it, but he was still acting like he was gonna do it. And so I was okay, we're almost there, we're almost there, we're almost there, we're almost there. And we just never were. He was done putting in the effort for that. He just wanted to keep lying about it. He was still telling friends and family that that was what he was planning on doing. And he was getting a lot of criticism at that point, which I think is why he was pretending that he was still doing it, because family was very unsupportive of that. His family was very unsupportive of that. And so he was finally getting an excuse to no longer pursue it. Because everybody on his side of the family was just completely against it. And my side of the family was that actually doesn't sound like a bad idea. But my family has a lot of veterans in it, and veterans are really respected in the family, and that goes for my dad's side and my mom's side. The most important men in my life were veterans, or are veterans. One's a was, because he's passed. The other one is an is, because he's alive. Those two men were my father figures. Also, sorry, it is so windy today. It's so nice outside, and it feels fantastic, but it is so windy, so it's probably horribly loud on the microphone. And I remember just being so excited to have this little boy. I was so excited for Levi. I was so excited to watch Elias be a brother. I was so excited. I could not wait. So I was doing updates so consistently, and was just like, it's time to celebrate, it's time to freak out, it's time to get all excited, because I was so excited and I wanted to be able to have the excitement preserved and saved. And unfortunately, no matter how exciting it all was, like, I can't erase the fact that I remember how miserable I was all the time. 34 weeks is also when we got into a really bad argument, and he was standing over me while I was crying in a corner and Elias was napping, and he's screaming at me about how terrible of a mother I am. And the whole reason he decided it that day was for literally nothing that made any sense. Like, he gave 2 reasons, and the first one was a snack that I gave Elias. He acted like it was an entire lunch. Like, I gave him applesauce as a whole lunch, and I was like, that was his snack after his lunch because he was still hungry. How does giving him a snack make me a bad mother? And then the other thing that made me a bad mom was that I planned to not have somebody that he wanted in the hospital room with me instead of him. I picked somebody that I felt okay with being in the hospital room with me that wasn't my mom, because my mom was going to watch Elias. And like, we were talking about my birth plan a lot at this point because I was like really stressed out over it. I was like, you keep telling me you're going to be gone, and I have to think of how to navigate all of this. Like, I was like, I plan on my uncle driving me to the hospital, but I don't plan on him being in the room with me. Like, I love my uncle. My uncle is one of my father figures. I did not want him in the room with me. So we were fighting about that all the time. Like, he at one point got so drunk that he was basically telling me that he wanted his older sister to be in the room with me. Now, his older sister is an absolutely awful person. And when I say awful person, I mean, I posted a thing on Instagram where it was somebody else's image, and it had their watermark on it, and the image was like with text on it, you know, just like one of those little white boxes with text in it. And it was like, at Christmas, my in-laws tried to force love on my children, and I said, not today. And I was like, see, this is my stance as a mother. I don't care who you are. You're not forcing my child to show you affection. I'm not raising my kid that way. My kid has an option to hug and to kiss. But yeah, that is something that I knew from the get-go. My children will always have the option. And I was just like, while this wasn't my situation, I love the message of this little text image. Like, yes, children should not be forced to show affection. Love it. Had to post because I love the message. And she like flipped out over it and took it to be like an attack on the family, which I never understood, because I was like, I even prefaced that like I was just agreeing with the message of not forcing kids to show affection to anybody. Like, that is a personal choice. Like, I don't always want to hug people. I don't hug the majority of my family most of the time that I hang out with them. I'm just not like a hug every time kind of person. And I would never force my kids to do that kind of shit. So she got really offended over that. At one point, she got really offended over my face. Like, anything about me was just constantly an issue for her. She never liked me. The narcissist made it clear that his sister never liked any of the girls that he liked. None of them were ever good enough. None of them will ever be good enough. That is her vibe. That is her energy. And like, not to say anything crazy, but like, they give a weird vibe when they hang out together. Like, viewing it as the girlfriend, they have a weird vibe together. Like, not straight up incestuous, but like emotionally incestuous, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like it does. Yeah? Now, I also want to preface this by saying that I don't know how serious he was, because he did say that he wanted her to be in the room with me very drunk. And when he was sober, he would say things like, oh, she's the worst person I ever known. She's exactly like my cousin, who like has a younger brother too, and apparently acts really weird with all the time. But he was like, they're the exact same person, and they're both insufferable and miserable people, and they're just fucking always mad. Like, he had nothing kind to say about her when he was sober. But he absolutely adored her when he was drunk or around her. Truth be told, a smart person would have said to themselves, you know what, that seems very unhealthy. At that point in time, I also wasn't religious, so there wasn't this need to, like, forgive at all. Like, holding grudges was completely fine and stuff, and he had a very similar mentality to what I had at that time. So I was like, the way that you speak about her, I don't understand why we ever have to talk to her or anything, or why you would say you want her in the room with me when I give birth. And that's what started the whole fight, was me saying, I don't understand how you apparently like her enough to want her in there with me when you can't stomach her unless you're hammered. And he started screaming and cussing at me about how he wasn't even hammered, and I just don't understand his family, and I don't understand anything about him, and I don't understand anything about her. I only know the bullshit that I've made up about her, about how she's an awful person and a horrible human being and how she's mean to everybody. And I was like, these are words that have come out of your mouth that I have in text messages from when we first started dating. What do you mean this is shit I made up? This is shit that you have told me about her from before I even met her. Like, this was how you introduced her to me the morning of the day that I met her for the first time. That is how you spoke about her to me before I met her. You're absolutely insane. You can't take accountability so much to the point that everything that you have done, you have shifted onto being me. No wonder your family doesn't like me, because any fault that I have, you've also added on top all of yours. Where did you get hurt, baby? On your mouth? Let me see. You okay?
Somebody cut me.
You got a cut? Let's go get that cleaned up and bandaged. Okay?
Not
It is bleeding, baby. Okay, that's where we're ending the video. Come back next week. Bye.